So I went to Finland. I've played the new Neo MoCo with the devs and the game team and everything else. I've played all the new classes. I've played most of the new things that's coming into the game. In this video, I'm going to give my 100% honest review of what I've played so far and what I think of the new Neo MoCo. And I'm going to cover 3 main topics inside this video. It's just a general overview of Neo MoCo, the classes and what I think about those, and the no power progression, which is probably the biggest talking point inside of the community. So let's dive on into it. So Neo MoCo, like, my honest opinion is, I feel as though it is better. It is going to be a better version of the current MoCo, the one everyone's playing now currently. I just feel it's much better, and it's going to have a bigger social feeling, I feel. Obviously, for you guys that watch the update videos, you're going to see a rework to the apartment. It's more going to be a social hub now where players are all gathered there. It's not just one apartment, your own apartment. It's going to be an apartment for X amount of players. You can go in there, go to your wardrobe, go to your class station, change your classes. There is a cool zone there and a football field, and it is like a little social hub. And from what I've gathered playing this game, they want to put a bit of focus on the social side of it. Again, with the apartment, obviously with the communities, we've seen the extension of the communities. You can change your club into a community which holds thousands and thousands of members now. So it looks like they want to go kind of down that route inside of the new version. Make it a much more social game with other reasons which I'll touch on later in the video. And the new version of Neo MoCo I felt much more immersive. It was much more fun to play. And when I played the Neo MoCo and I was at the Supercell headquarters with the devs playing the Neo MoCo, I went back to my hotel. I had to log into the current version of MoCo to do my daily jobs and things. And when I was playing the current version of MoCo, I felt kind of deflated. I felt it was much more boring than the Neo MoCo, and it just felt better and fresh and refreshing and immersive. And that's my honest thoughts, guys. And I'm not glazing here, by the way. I know people might think, oh, he's a Supercell creator, he's only say good things about them. But that's not the case whatsoever, because I need this game to succeed. I just want to say this because I started this channel off with Clash Mini that died. Switched to Squad Busters for a little bit. That wasn't the game for me. And then that inevitably died. And now I've switched to MoCo. And I'm not switching games again. So if MoCo dies, probably this channel's going to die with it. So I need MoCo to succeed. And this is why my feedback's truthful, which it always is. And I've done videos in the past where I've done videos on the Sewer King, Nightmare Dojo. I said this needs fixing. There's too much RNG. Can't have these things inside of MoCo. And for the later worlds, I've done a video on that saying this needs fixing. The worlds are too difficult. You need to nerf the monsters and things. It's not a good player experience. And lo and behold, we got a nerf for them monsters. 15% damage decrease and health decrease, I think it was. And the devs do listen. So I do offer my feedback honestly. I just want to say that because I need this game to succeed. And if I'm holding back truths with the feedback, I don't think that's going to be good for the game and good for my channel. And to put it bluntly, guys, the better MoCo's doing, in theory, the better my channel will be doing. So I want this game to succeed more than anyone. This is why my feedback is truthful. But the whole reason I feel the game felt more immersive when I first started playing Neo MoCo was the classes. They just felt better to play, better as a whole, much more immersive. And there was still a super early work in progress, guys. They weren't like finalized, I don't think. The build we were playing in was that early. And you'll notice when you watch some of the update videos, the sneak peeks, that like some of the weapons had the wrong skins on, some weren't even coloured and things. But the classes, I just felt they were awesome, to be honest. And obviously they had a star complexity, and I feel as though the higher you went up in stars from 1 to 5 stars, the more immersive they felt. And I'll take my favourite, which was the Zapsicle, for example. And like the way that works is you've got to charge the enemies with electricity, and then you add an attack that when the enemies were charged with electricity, you could use your attack to dart through them all, and you zipped kind of like through all the enemies really quickly and done damage to them. But then you had another ability where once the enemies were charged with electricity, if you needed to heal yourself, you pressed your skill to heal yourself, but you could only heal yourself with the enemies that were charged with electricity. So it was all about charging your enemies with electricity to use your offensive skill and your defensive skill to heal yourself. So you had to charge enemies with electricity. The more you charged, the more you healed. So you had to think a little bit. It wasn't just kind of like button mashing, because the way it is on worlds now, you've got to build. I use Technofist, for example. You kind of just go on a world and you've got to fight an alpha charger, kill an alpha charger for your daily job. So you'll be shooting that alpha charger with your Technofist, kind of walking backwards while you're firing and dodging here and there, and then you'll pop your gadgets, and then again walk backwards, and it's kind of monotonous, and you don't realize that until you play this new version of MoCo with the classes. And this is why I was saying when I went back to my hotel room, kind of felt boring, because with the class system, you've got to think a little bit, and this is why I was saying about the star complexity. Yes, there is 1-star weapons there, like the speed shot, for example, which for the super casual player, that's great, because you do kind of walk and shoot, and then just press your abilities, your heals, really simple. You don't need to charge enemies up with electricity, anything, and it's you know, it's a really simple class to use. And if for the super casual players, that's great, use the speed shot bow, but the Zapsicle, which I'm talking about, was a 4-star, so you had to think a little bit. So it was great because it catered for a lot of players inside of the new Neo MoCo. If you were like more of a hardcore player, you could go up in star complexity, which means the classes were a bit harder. But if you're just a super casual, just use a 1 or 2-star class. You know, do your thing, play the game how it suits you. But with the Zapsicle, like I was saying, it was great. I had to charge these enemies up, use my offensive abilities. I was zipping around everywhere. I was getting low on health. I had to do my attack to charge more enemies up, thinking, oh, I'll heal myself this time. And it was just so much more immersive, and it was just a much more fun game and experience. So now with the removal of power progression as well, the thing that you're going to play Neo MoCo for is to log in, play, level up, collect your class tokens, and collect these classes and complete your mastery track for each class. And that's going to be the thing you're going to play for, because obviously they've removed power progression, and that's the team's kind of vision as it stands now. And is this going to be enough to make players keep coming back to the game and logging in every day because they want to collect these classes, they want to complete the mastery track and everything else? And the short answer is, guys, I don't know. I really don't know. For me, yes, but obviously there's so many players that are playing the game. Is that going to be enough for players to just keep logging in every day because I want to collect these classes and complete the masteries? I honestly don't know, my friends. But if we look at it like this, MoCo is a free-to-play game. It's completely free-to-play. There's like, you can't buy power progression in it. Obviously, in the new Neo MoCo, there's going to be no power progression. And everything's based off cosmetics and the way your character looks inside a MoCo. And I think that works inside of this game. I think most players are into the cosmetics, the titles, the skins, the mounts, and everything else. So I think a lot of the player retention and making players log back in and play every day will come down to the mastery track, in my opinion. So, for example, if you watch your sneak peeks, when you unlock a weapon, we'll take the speed shot again, for example, you've got a mastery track for each weapon, a different mastery track. And at the end of that mastery track, you get a golden shader for that weapon. And that's kind of to showcase to other players that you're like an expert with that weapon. So if you play the speed shot, you complete the mastery track, get right to the end, you get a golden shader, equip it to your speed shot bow. And if you're on a world doing world things and other players see you, they'll think, whoa, this dude's got a speed shot bow. He must have put in some hours playing the speed shot bow to complete the mastery track. Therefore, he could be really good with that class, because he has the golden shader on it. But why stop at the golden shader? This is my thoughts. See, I think on the mastery track, there should be more visual elements for that weapon that you unlock to maybe make it look more menacing. The higher on the mastery track you progress. You know what I mean? So you're not just limited to a golden shader. Your speed shot starts off at this, and then when you get it so far up on the mastery track, you can add these things to it to make it look a bit better. And when you get so far up, you can add these things up to make it look a bit better. And then obviously when you get to the end of the mastery track, you get the golden shader. But I think the thing should be more visual things on the mastery track to make them weapons look more menacing and more scary, if that makes sense. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because power progression is being removed from the game. So now visual progression is going to be a super key aspect inside of MoCo. I mean, we do have player levels there currently. They're going to be in the new MoCo. So everyone starts off at level 1. And then I think in the first season, you can get up to level 50. So we have got that visual indication there. So if you're on a world and you've got a level 2 player and they see a level 50 player, they'll think, oh, A could be strong. A could be good at the game because he's level 50. A's obviously played a lot more than me. And obviously years or months or whatever down the road, you're going to be like level 200, and then you get new players joining the game. They're going to be like level 1. They'll see a level 200. And just by looking at that player level, they know you're more or less going to be good at the game. You're going to know what you're doing inside of MoCo because you've played it for so long, because you're level 200. There just needs to be more than that, in my humble opinion, because obviously with the removal of power progression, what's going to differentiate a player who plays for 30 minutes a day versus a player who plays for 5 hours a day? Just having this player level, I just don't think it's going to be enough And I don't think that's going to sit well with a lot of players. And this is why I'm saying it needs to be the visual progression as the power progression. And for example, if I'm on a world, I keep saying about worlds and things, but it's just an easy example. If I'm on a world and I run past a player and he's like level 200 and he's got this gold speed shot that looks menacing and he's got this like awesome skin on with a glow around him, maybe even like a limited time title above his name for completing like an event in game, so you get like the legend above your player name in game, and just something that like makes another player stand out and looks OP. I think that's going to be the thing we really need inside of the game as well. And this is why I'm saying visual progression is going to be so important, and I just think they could incorporate more things into the master track there, just to incentivize players more to grind each class, because like I did say, it was an early version of the new Neo MoCo we did play, and everything wasn't set in stone. But I just think, obviously, with the removal of power progression, visual progression needs to be like incorporated in the game like really well, and it needs to be a super important factor. And I just think that there could be more on the mastery track to sort of indicate this, and I think that will also make players log in more and play the game more every day, because I want to get these OP visual cosmetics for their player. And they did have the visual trackers on the mastery track as well. So for example, with the speed shot, there was things like monsters killed with the speed shot, and you can place them into your player profile along with badges for the speed shot. So the more you play the speed shot, the badge sort of like upgrades itself, and that will be in your profile along with the trackers that you place in there. It's kind of like a visual progression. But I'll be honest, guys, I'm 37. Like, I'm not going to be clicking on players' profiles to see how many monsters they've killed with the speed shot or the singularity, or like how visually nice the badge looks on their profile. It just doesn't appeal to me. I just want to be able to run past a player, see how OP they look in a world, and maybe stop in my tracks and think, whoa, this dude looks really OP. It looks like he knows what he's doing. And then maybe click on his profile from there and have a look at them things. But I'm not going to be clicking on players' profiles just to see how many monsters they've killed with a speed shot, just out of interest. Just something I won't do. But obviously, speaking of the no power progression, like I did say, this is the main concern I feel inside the community. A lot of comments on my YouTube videos saying, why remove power progression? Why play the game if there's no power? And I get that. Like, I'll be completely honest, like, playing Neo MoCo, I didn't notice they'd remove the power progression. I honestly didn't. I completely forgot about it while I was playing, till I think maybe Kairos mentioned it, or one of the devs. I was like, oh yeah, you've removed the power progression. Because the thing that made me forget was, because my player level was increasing. So I was going from like level 1 to level 2, level 2 to level 3. It was kind of tricking my brain into thinking I was getting stronger because I was leveling up, if that makes sense. And that's the God's honest truth. So I didn't even notice it inside of Neo MoCo. But the way I look at it is like this. So you start MoCo, the current version of MoCo that everyone's playing now. You'll be on the first world, level 1. And you'll go into the world and you'll be fighting the enemies, and they'll be sort of similar level to you. You know what I mean? So you're fighting them, you're doing your things, you're doing your daily jobs, you get the death ball going, you're killing things, you're completing projects, and then you level up. And then once you start getting stronger than these enemies, you unlock the next world, and then you move on to the next world, and then you're back to square one. You're back at the level of them monsters. So you start Roman World 2. You're at their level. You're not much stronger than them. They're not much stronger than you. It's a level playing field. So you start doing the same things on there. Start doing your missions. Luna gives you. Start doing your projects for that world. Everything else. And you kill all the monsters on there. Doing some death balls. And then you level up again. And then once you start getting stronger than them monsters and you can kill them more easily, you unlock the third world. And then you move on to the third world. And the process starts again. So all throughout MoCo's journey for the worlds, you're more or less on a level playing field with the monsters, because once you start getting stronger than them, you unlock the next world and you move on to them, onto that world, and you're more or less similar strength to them monsters. And you do that all the way until you unlock the last world, and you maybe play a little bit on the last world, and then the update drops, and then you're back to square one again. So for the worlds now, it's almost like there's no power progression for the worlds if you're roaming around worlds and doing things on the worlds. The only thing we see inside the game where power progression sort of comes into play is the rifts and the dojos. Now, I've posted a lot of dojo guides on my channel, and more often than not, I get comments on there saying, oh bro, you're cheating, you're using a secret build to complete this dojo in that time. I've tried it 1,000 times, I can't do it, and so on and so forth. And then most players, I even get comments on them videos saying, I'm not going to be able to do this. I'll just wait till I'm over leveled and I'll come back and do it. And that's what a lot of players do. They can't do like the hard and nightmare dojos in sub 1 minute. So they just play the game, get super high level, and then come back and do them no problem. And that kind of like sucks the fun out of the game, in my humble opinion, for me at least. I mean, every player plays the game differently. I get that, guys. But that kind of sucks the fun out of the game, in my opinion. What's the point of having a dojo and rift set there that you've got to complete at a certain level and then just ignoring them and then getting super high in level and coming back and doing them super easily? Like, the way it's going to be now inside of MoCo, the dojos and rifts are going to come down to skill and teamwork, which I think is a great idea. And this feeds back into the social element I was talking about at the start of the video, because there's no power progression, so we're all going to be playing the same worlds and the same rifts that are available. So there's going to be, in theory, an abundance of players to play them things with. So I'm thinking now, when Neo MoCo drops, because there's no power progression, we're going to go into these worlds to do these jobs and tasks and everything else. There's going to be loads of players, probably no bots in sight. Same for the rifts. If you're queuing in a rift, you're going to get players because there's only these rifts available and there's no power progression. Because the way it is now in MoCo, you get super high level. I mean, I never go back to the earlier worlds ever because there's no point. So all these new players that are joining the game, they're missing a big chunk of the player base because we're all at this end playing the higher worlds and everything else. And all these new players, I mean, we see it on Discord and things complaining that the world's just full of bots because we're all at the end of the game. Whereas now, we're all going to be playing together. And I think it's just going to be much more fun. And this is why I was saying at the start of the video as well, about a better social aspect in Neo MoCo. So that's my thoughts. I just wanted to do a quick video to talk with you guys, because I know there's still a lot of concerns about the power progression and things, and I've actually played Neo MoCo, so I just wanted to share my honest thoughts and opinions with you guys. And like I did say, this is a super early version of Neo MoCo. We did get the opportunity to play, but to sum it up, I didn't notice power progression was gone out of the game because my player level was increasing. And it kind of tricked my brain into thinking I was getting stronger at the same time. And I really think it's going to feel much more social and much more of a community feel to Neo MoCo. Granted, when I was playing in the dev build, I was playing with bots because there was only Expectation, Echo and Kairos with the dev build and some of the devs, and we were playing at different times. So most of the time I was in there with bots. But the times we were in there together, you just got this social community vibe to it, if that makes sense, when you're in the apartment and things. And classes, in my opinion, much more fun, much more immersive. The higher you go up in star complexity, the more immersive I feel the classes feel. So I think classes overall are a W. And obviously, finally, will the key element of unlocking classes be enough of a drive to keep players playing? I don't know. I think it can be. I think it can work. I think that can be the thing that works inside of the game for the game team and things, providing the visual progress, because we don't have power progression anymore, is OP. And obviously the players that play the longest are rewarded the most, because then their player and everything else looks OP and fantastic. I think it can work. To sum it up there, to close out the video, and as always, you guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you want to stay up to date with all the Neo MoCo sneak peeks and videos coming in the future, feel free to subscribe. If you did enjoy this video, consider dropping me a like down below, and we'll catch you hunters in the next video.